Wisdom Wednesday. My name is Naomi, the How To Chick, and it says we've been live here for a minute, but I'm just going to say it says we're live, so we're live. I am here. Sorry, I was not able to be here last week. These are those midsummer days, and we are waiting with bated breath, right, for school to start again. I know that I cannot be the only parent. My kids are having the time of their lives. Camps are over, vacations are done, and now they're just tearing up the house and putting thousands of dollars worth of things in their carts for back to school shopping. And I'm ready for school to start. But it's Wednesday. I'm so glad to be here. If this is your first time catching one of my lives, my name is Naomi and I go by the How To Chick. I'm a child of God, a wife, a mom, an attorney, a coach, a mentor, and a speaker. But most importantly, I believe that you can do anything, but you can't do everything. And life is really about the import of choosing wisely. And tonight I came to talk to you about a topic called It's Not for Nothing. It's not for nothing. And I saw a post earlier this week and actually heard a testimony from a good friend of mine who I've been friends with for a while. And she was telling me about a feeling that she had that she was supposed to leave the place that she lives. She's been saying this for a few years. We've talked about it a few times, but she felt like she was supposed to leave, but it was never the right time. And today I saw a post by, if you know, Lovey Ajayi. She's an authoress and a former social media blogger who has written a number of really well done books. Um, the Troublemaker series are excellent, by the way. This is a not a paid promotion. This is just my plug. You guys know I'm a prolific reader and I loved her books. But I saw a post that she posted today because she has moved into the coaching space. And she had a coaching call with a young lady who congratulated her on all her successes, of course, and asked her, "Hey, how can you help me get to where you are?" And she mentioned that she was really taken aback at that. She was like, get to where I am? Because Lovey Ajayi, I've been following her for about 12 years now, has been blogging consistently, writing articles, commentating. I think she actually got her start blogging Scandal or another show. It might have been, she did Scandal first and then she did Insecure. And she got started doing weekly blogs on those. And then that picked up into social commentary. She did an amazing TED Talk, and that launched her career as an author. But her path wasn't linear. And what she said in her post was, I've been doing everything I've been doing for 20 years. And it feels like you want me to give you the formula to have that happen overnight. And I can't do that. And when she said that, I was taken aback myself because we hear that a lot. A lot of people want an easy, skip the line pass. If you've ever gone to Disneyland or Disney World or, even Six Flags, they have a like a pass you can buy, lightning pass or whatever they're called, where you can skip the line. You can say, you know what, I don't want to wait with all these people, so I'm going to pay a little extra money to skip the line. And we all know that, if you live in America, it seems like a lot of life works like that, but not everything works like that. There are some things for which your path is your path, right? It may be hard, it may be non-linear, you may skip around a lot, you may look back and not know at all how you got where you got, but the point is you never quit and you kept going. So tonight I wanted to come to you on the topic It's Not for Nothing, because this is a season in which I hear a lot of people saying how difficult things are, how much resistance they feel like they're encountering in their jobs, on their in their career paths, in their financial situations, in their marriages, in their in their relationships with others. This is not an easy season for a lot of people because stresses have become so high. If you guys know anything about me, if you've seen any of my lives, what you will know is that I am for sure a God girl. I believe that everything I am and everything I will be is a result of what God has done for me in my life. And most of what I talk about is framed through that experience. And so when I saw that post, I was actually reminded of a of a word, and that word was endurance. So the scriptures actually say in Galatians 6:9, don't lose heart in what you're doing. Don't grow weary in well doing. For in due season you will reap if you don't faint. And a lot of people kind of throw that out as a reason to, keep struggling and keep fighting and keep moving through whatever it is they're going through. And while I agree that it's absolutely important to know that as long as we are walking by faith and not by sight, as long as we are keeping our eyes on whatever the goal or the prize is for us, there will be some benefit to what we're doing. I also know that in life, there are going to be a lot of seasons where it feels like you're not making any progress. And today was one of those days where I had to sit and actually think about that because over the last, and I think, I've told you guys over the last year and a half how significantly my career trajectory has changed from where it was 3 years ago and where I thought it was going 5 years ago. If you told me 5 years ago that I was going to be doing an entirely different type of law, that I would not be litigating anymore, that I would have abandoned my goal, right, of being an antitrust attorney and being a judge, I would say, what? Why would you say that I would never do that? And I'm not saying abandon. What I'm saying is my path has been nonlinear, and where I am is not a place that I thought that I could get from where I was without having several steps in between. And suffice to say, getting where I got did not come easily. I've given my testimony several times, so I'm not here to talk about me. What I am here to talk about is the importance of continuing to trust the process and keep moving forward. In the past, I've talked about when it's okay to pivot and when you need to quit. But I've also talked about this thing called levels. And if you've ever played a video game, you know that every level gets a little bit harder and a little bit harder, and it's a little different than the levels before it. Sometimes you may encounter a randomly easy level right in the middle, right? But it's still going to look different than every other level. And one thing that I have learned in the seasons that I've been through is that when I'm going through life, there are seasons that have repeated themselves. The seasons that have repeated themselves did that because I didn't learn something on that level. And so, in many of those seasons, when you see things starting to look the same, starting to shape up the same, you get frustrated, you get angry. You're like, God, why me? Why is this happening again? How could this happen again? And what I have been learning is something that my mother used to say, and I hated it then. And I can't say that I'm extra fond of it now, but it's true. James says the trying of our faith works patience. And patience has to have her perfect work so that we are pure and perfect, entire, wanting nothing. And my mother always said that that wasn't hers. What my mother always said was that we have to learn in whatever situation we find ourselves to be content. And that's really a hard thing to do when you have a goal in mind and it seems like you're on a level that's on one. When you're on a level that feels like you've seen it, you've seen the script, same script, different cast. It's a losing hand. You want to skip this level. Skip, 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 skip. So you start Googling, you start trying to buy cheat codes, trying to figure out how to get off this level without losing because you don't want to go back to the level before. You want to level up, but you don't want to go through this level. And I'm talking in a video game lingo just because for many of us, we see these seasons coming and we're like, how can I avoid it? I got to quit this job. I got to leave this marriage. I got to move. I got to drop out and get it. I mean, I have to leave the workforce and go get another degree because I'm not going through this. I don't want to deal with racism, sexism, any ism. I don't want to deal with the economy crashing, losing my 401k again. I don't have it in me. When we see these things coming, we start making our plans. But what I was reminded of today is that nobody ever got anywhere by quitting a level that they had to clear. So, like I said, just like in a video game, you can try to rush through it, not learn how to play it, and die. And guess what? You're going to find yourself right back at the start of that level. You're not going to be able to level up until you clear it. And so when we see things shaping up to be similar to something that we've seen before that wasn't pretty, that wasn't enjoyable, that really honestly kind of sucked and maybe sucked the life out of us, sucked the joy out of us, sucked the hope out of us, sucked the faith out of us, that's the time to start evaluating the things that we learned in that last season. What did we learn when we lost that job? What did we learn when our spouse and I had when you and your spouse had that situation where you had to separate for a while and thank God you worked it out and you came back together? What did you learn when your child ran away and eventually things were okay? But what did you learn? What did you learn? And if you can truthfully and honestly say, I didn't learn anything from that situation, that's the only time that you need to get worried about the level that you're on. Let me say that again. If you truly did not learn anything, if you can sit down and go through the painful, the hurtful, the devastating situation that you're feeling this season shaping up to be, but you remember one like it in the past, if you can really evaluate that situation and say to yourself, I learned nothing there, then and only then should you be worried about the season that you're in. And when I say worried, I don't mean anxious. I don't mean overwhelmed. What I really mean is that you have to play the level. You have to learn the lesson. But if you learned something in that last season, if you learned a little humility from your child running away and telling your business, if you learned a little self sacrifice when your husband lost that job, if you learned some better communication skills as a result of the communication that you had to have through therapists to get your marriage back, if you learned a little, if you learned a little, just a little bit in the season that you went through on that job about people, because it's not always you, right? Sometimes it's other people. Sometimes we need to get understanding. Because I talked a few weeks back about the difference between knowledge and wisdom and discernment. But the scriptures say, above all, get understanding. And what understanding is the ability to apply the knowledge, the wisdom, and the discernment that we've gotten in other seasons of our lives through other things that we've gone through to the situation that we're in. Understanding is when you're able to look at a situation that's coming at you, when you're able to meet a person, right, and you immediately get a vibe off of them. And instead of thinking, I'm avoiding this person, you think, where have I met and encountered a person like this? What did I learn? And how do I need to deal with this person accordingly? Because we don't get to go through life, right, avoiding successfully everything that's going to make us uncomfortable. Understanding is applying everything we've learned from every level we've lived, every life lesson that we've learned in every day of our lives is a level that we've passed, hopefully, and we should have something in our toolkit to help us deal with it. But some of us, when we start going through things, we seize up. And instead of thinking, what can we use to get us through this level? What have we gone through before that has prepared us for this level? How do I pray about this situation based on prayers that I prayed in the past? How do I cover my family, my marriage, my business, my ministry, my career in this season against these attacks? What have I done that has given the enemy access to us in this season? Instead, we're feeling like Job's wife. We're feeling like we have been forsaken and abandoned by God. And so instead of preparing ourselves for the fight. We prepare to be anxious. We prepare to be worried. We prepare to complain. And we sit down and suffer unnecessary losses. And so when I was thinking about what the young lady said when she said, "How do I get where you got?" What I would have told her is what I got from reading Lovey's book. You don't quit, you keep going. You knock on those doors, you show up consistently, you apply every tool in your toolkit to the situation that's in front of you, past this level. And maybe on the other side of this level, you get the gold star, do do do. There's an easy level. Because see, the thing about life is, and this is a thing we don't understand, but we do understand, but we don't overstand. And what that really is that we are not in control of what our seasons look like. Yes, sometimes we make poor decisions and those lead to suffering and consequences that were avoidable. But a lot of life is chance. And the only person who knows and is prepared for the vagaries of chance is the Spirit of God. So there is wisdom, there is knowledge. But to get through this life, we need more than that. We need discernment and we need understanding. And what that means is that we don't get to sit down and pity ourselves, sit down in a heap, a trash heap, and sit shiva for the life that we had when life throws us for a curveball, when a tornado wipes the life that we had off the map. We don't just get to sit there and mourn. Sometimes it is incumbent on us to get up and fight in the first place. So while we're not always in control, nothing that we have gone through in the past was for no reason. There is absolutely nothing that you have gone through. And I almost hate to say this because there are people who went through things in their childhood that no one should have to go through. There are people who went through things as adults and teenagers that no one in their life should ever have to go through. But if you went through it, it's now a tool in your toolkit. And it's incumbent on you to use that to help yourself and to help someone else who may be facing those circumstances. I always say one of my mottos is, God, help me to be the person that I needed when I was younger. And every time he gives me the opportunity to do that, to be that, to show up in that way for somebody, I feel it. And I'm able to stop and sit in gratitude of that particular prayer. And I think for many of us, if we could face the seasons of our lives that we can see and feel in our spirits are going to cause us pain, with gratitude and with contentment and with a conviction to use what we have in our toolkits to get us past this level, we would not keep getting stuck on these levels of depression, of despair, of abandonment. We wouldn't get stuck in our divorce. We wouldn't get stuck in our failure. We wouldn't get stuck in that dropping out of school. We wouldn't get stuck in our financial failure. We wouldn't get stuck when our business fails. We wouldn't get stuck when our child fails or drops out of school or does something crazy. We wouldn't get stuck because we would know that there's something in our toolkit that has prepared us for this moment and that nothing is for no reason. So when we are facing these circumstances, it is so important that we first evaluate whether we've seen anything like this before and have something like it in our toolkit. And if so, it's time to buckle down. It's time to, as David says, meditate on the goodness of God. We got to go back to what happened in that last season. Even if it was a losing season, we got through it. How did we get through it? What happened? What was the end result? How do we pray that into this situation, right? If we've never seen anything like it before, it's time to dig down and play this hand wisely. It's time to pull on the tools that we have in our arsenal, look for the thing that's most similar to fight our way through what could be a winning season that just looks like a losing season. It's time to make sure that we don't miss the lesson the first time and get stuck here. It's time to find contentment in a place of pain. And that happens only when we're able to believe and pray the promises. The promises for today: one, don't grow weary in doing the right thing. You will reap if you don't quit. Galatians 6:9. The second promise, the trying of your faith works patience, and we have to let patience have her perfect work. We must let patience have her perfect work, because what I'm learning as I continue to go through these seasons where nothing looks like it should, where crazy things go wrong, is that what is really happening is I'm being distracted from what I'm actually supposed to be doing in this season, worrying about this one thing that I can't control. And so it is so important for us to find a way to praise, to worship, to give thanks, to meditate on the goodness of God, to claim the promises, but most importantly, to believe that this is only a season and that there will be something that we can take from this season that will move us confidently, competently, and completely to the next level. Nothing that we go through is for no reason. Nothing, even when it doesn't make sense. So don't forget the things that you've gone through. Don't wish the seasons had never happened, because a lot of us do that. We get through something and we're like, I never want to go through that again. I never want to think about that again. There are years, there are decades of people's lives that they just don't talk about. And what does the scripture say? We overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the testimony of the saints. Because sometimes what the tool that you pick up in that season isn't even for you. You may never need it again, but there are people out there who need that testimony, who need an understanding of what God can do for them, even when they're the furthest from Him that they've ever been, who need to believe that if they just keep going one more day. You know, I had an aunt who was an addict, and she always talked about sobriety as a daily experience. And for those of us who are on a faith walk, we understand it's a it's a daily experience. We are fighting who we want to be every single day, because life is a lot easier when you're doing what you want to do. Life is a lot easier, or so it seems, or so it looks, when you're not surrendered and walking in a calling that calls you to do things that are uncomfortable and painful and self sacrificing. And life is a lot easier when you can just close your eyes, plug your ears, and pretend that the trial that you're facing is nothing that you have to deal with and nothing that you need concern yourself with, and this too shall pass. Because that's a lot of our motto. Nothing that you are going through is for no reason. Take stock of where you are, journal it, look back over your life and see what the parallels are. And then start praising God for the victory that He's giving you, the testimony that He's preparing, and the deliverance that He's preparing for someone else through you in this season, because I promise that He is. And what I promise you tonight is, it's not for nothing. I hope this has been helpful, guys. Remember, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. Choose wisely. Good night.